Hello everybody and welcome back to Pravus Gaming and More Democracy 3 Electioneering in France. We are just over halfway through our first term, which means in the next few turns, we will be able to access some of the electioneering features. Sorry you guys haven't been able to see a lot of that. I know that one of the main reasons you probably are looking at the series is because you want to find out more about the expansion. Unfortunately, it takes a while to even access these things, so I'm doing the best I can, but you'll have to be patient. Alright, let's move on into Year 4. We did get the water shortage last video, which does suck. Oh, God! Car company shuts down a plant. Okay, there goes some unemployment, and there goes some GDP. Damn. Okay, the surplus has shrunk to 24 billion euros. However, health is improving. That's a good thing. But yeah, this... Oh, God! Okay, this is a problem. We're gonna have to probably spend our way out of this. We did reduce the debt a lot. If I need to spend a ton of money and have a short deficit in order to start improving the GDP so I can get my taxable income back, I will do so. Eventually, I swear to God, this debt is going to go away. Water shortage. Nothing has really taken root yet. The Climate Change Adaptation Fund has not really picked up any steam, so that's not making any effect yet. The environment hasn't really had any effect from the car emission limits yet either. It's going to be a while before things like car emission and pollution controls and so on take full effect, so yeah, we're going to have to be patient on that as well. Water shortage is here to stay, at least for a while, and mostly it's just going to increase food prices and upset the farmers. We'll be able to survive, but it does suck. So we have 36 political capital. What should we do? Well, we do need to continue improving the environment, but first I consider the GDP a top priority. Bunch of taxes are hurting the GDP. Pollution controls is pretty bad for us, but we do need it. So, too bad. Science funding. How's that looking? We can actually improve this a little bit. It's not going to cost me too much political capital. Okay, yeah. Let's go ahead and upgrade to a particle accelerator. That will improve the GDP by another 1.7%-ish for an extra $4 billion. Okay, so it's not very financially sound in the sense that it has a terrible value, but it is a quick way to improve the GDP without sapping all of my political capital. It also improves our technology and NFG efficiency, which is pretty good, I think. So yeah, let's go ahead and max out science funding. We pretty much always want to do that. But as far as the environment, we could ban low MPG cars. Now that's a bit more expensive in political capital, very cheap as far as actual costs. With gas prices climbing constantly and nature being polluted from all sides, banning cars that use too much fuel may be the right step to protect the environment. Okay. What is good for the environment is good for society. Yeah, whatever floats your boat. The road to good intentions is blah, 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 blah. No, wait, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Damn, I completely screwed up the quote. Anyway, the point is, yeah, we're going to ban low MPG cars because we are democratic socialists, and as long as the majority of people agree with me on this one, as long as I am accurately representing the majority of people, as is required in a democratic socialist nation, a government that is better representative of the people itself and the people's wishes, then I'm totally in the clear for doing this. You know, my personal American views of this kind of stuff is totally irrelevant. Totally irrelevant. This will improve the environment a lot. 11.74%. Now, it will take 8 turns to fully take effect, but I think it's worthwhile. CO2 emissions will go down pretty quickly. Environmentalists will be very happy. Car usage and oil demand also goes down. The only penalty to this is upsetting the motorists. Across the board, it's a good thing, with the exception of upsetting one particular group, which I am hoping to get rid of eventually as I move toward a commuter society instead. So I am willing to make that trade. Where are motorists? There they are. Yeah, they're going to be really mad at me. And they're just under half the population. The rest would be considered commuters, right? You know what? No. So who doesn't who's not a motorist and who's not a commuter? You're one or the other, right? Unless you just stay at home all day. I mean, are we saying that like 11% of French people just stay at home and they walk everywhere and that's it? They don't commute and they don't take a car? I don't know. Maybe that's exactly what we're saying. Either way. Let's move on. Countryside access law. Much of our countryside is still privately owned, with access to walk on the lands restricted by the landowners. Seems fair, it's their land. There is a strong campaign to bring in laws forcing landowners to make their land accessible to ramblers and walkers to enjoy the countryside within certain guidelines. Interesting. Block the law. Private land is private land. This is the very basis of private ownership and capitalism. Yeah, guess what? We're not capitalist, so I don't care. If the owners wish to restrict access to their land, that is entirely up to them. Disgruntled socialists. I mean, yeah, this is a pretty reasonable argument in my opinion. You know what? That's actually one of the things I'm surprised that socialists, at least in this game, would be in favor of this, because socialism does still allow for private ownership of land and property and so on. It allows for private property, private ownership. So you'd think that socialists are okay with this. Communists, I could see being upset with this. Because in proper communism, I believe they do not allow for private ownership and private property like that. Well, maybe private ownership, but not private property. There's a distinction between the two. I'm struggling to remember the exact terminology right now, but I'm pretty sure that's along the right route. So that does kind of lend, I think, to the argument that this game confuses socialists and communists a lot. I don't know. But, you know, I like to think that this game, the socialists are more of the nationalistic style of socialists. Or maybe they're not, maybe they're totally the same thing. I don't know. The point is, we're going to support the law. Because it's crazy to have so much open and often entirely unused land in private hands while our cities are so overcrowded. This law will allow all citizens to enjoy the beauty of our countryside while retaining the final property rights and ownership privileges of the landowner. It's a good compromise. Yeah, I don't... You know what? I think you know what my opinion is of this. I think this is terrible, but we're going to support it anyway. Mao Zedong. Politics is war without bloodshed, while war is politics with bloodshed. That's kind of clever, actually. I like it. So the GDP is slowly ticking up. Now, our surplus is very small, but I do think that as the GDP starts to pick up steam, this is going to get better and better and better, so I don't mind continuing to enact new policies and spending money. I think it will ultimately work out well for us. I do, however, think that we need to raise some sort of taxes, and there's two options for us. One, there's the petrol tax, which costs, oh my god, 36 political capital to raise it. Wow. That's all I've got. Alternatively, alcohol tax? We don't have one of these yet. It costs 30 political capital to introduce, but it does typically reduce alcohol consumption. And right now, France does not have alcohol abuse. I'd like to keep it that way, and the higher our GDP gets, the more alcohol will be consumed, the more likely we'll have the events. This is preemptively getting rid of that alcohol abuse negative event, while simultaneously getting me some money. It's just a shame it's very, very expensive. How much do we want, though? 25%? Seems a little low. About 30. 7.6 billion euros per quarter. It does reduce alcohol consumption by 15%. It does hurt our equality and poverty a little bit, but I think our welfare programs will more than compensate. And in the meantime, this pretty much should guarantee that we don't cross the start trigger for the alcohol abuse event. So, yeah, I think that's okay. If we're really worried about it, I could always pass the alcohol awareness campaign as well. Between the two, I'm pretty darn sure we're not ever going to get alcohol abuse, which is great, because that reduces health and costs me like 10 billion euros per quarter, so I'd like to avoid that for obvious reasons. What else can we do? In fact, we should actually focus a little bit more on health. How's Dr. Strike doing? Gosh dang it, I told you it was going to end up around here. Knew it. Yeah, we're going to have to mess with labor laws later. Not right now. Not right now. I don't want to lose my trustworthiness points, but eventually we need to deal with this. So let's improve health by other means. We should do the health food subsidies. This is pretty good. Doesn't cost us a ton of money. But basically, we are subsidizing healthier food so it is more competitive with the unhealthy fat food, right? So health goes up by over 8%, which for 270 million euros is a really, really, really good deal. I'm telling you guys, state healthcare services are not the way to go in this game if you want to be cost effective. You go for things like this. Much better. Much, much, much better. The only reason I increased our state healthcare service was to try and get rid of the doctor strike, and it didn't work. But still, we'll compensate. Obesity also goes down a lot because people are eating healthy, and it's not as punitive, as they say, as a fat tax, which is basically what the junk food tax would be. It does the same sort of thing. It increases health and encourages people to eat healthy, but actually I don't even know if it has an effect on food prices. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But it definitely isn't. It definitely is unpopular. It definitely hurts the poor earnings. It definitely reduces equality. It's cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. and frankly could make you a teensy-weensy bit of money, but it's generally just better to do the health food subsidies, less negative events, and if you're playing the game correctly, you should have enough money that you can afford a dang health food subsidy, okay? If you're not doing that, you're doing something wrong. Let's move on to the next turn. Safeguard oil supplies. Representatives from oil companies based in our country have requested that the government deploy troops overseas at our oil refineries in the Middle East to protect them from attack by terrorists. The governments involved are happy for our troops to be stationed on their soil for this purpose. Okay, so we could send the troops. This is why we have a military, in order to protect French interests, basically. America has an economic investment in the Middle East and oil. We should protect it with our military. That's what this comes down to. This is not a foreign invasion because the other governments are happy to have us there. So it's not quite like the war in Iraq or Afghanistan, which people have said is all about oil, and I have no doubt that was a part of it. It's just extra security that we're paying for. If we do not deploy troops, the oil supply will suffer. Or, do not deploy the troops. The symbolism of our troops landing on foreign soil, heavily armed and prepared to use deadly force, is going to cause major backlash. Possibly. You know, I actually don't know what all the impacts are of this event. I am not going to deploy the troops. I'm pretty sure this is going to upset patriots. Beyond that, I don't know. The oil supply, I have no doubt, will go down. Yep, it definitely went down by 17%. Ouch. That's a lot. Fortunately, I don't think we're relying quite on as much on oil as we used to, so it shouldn't hurt our economy too much. The oil price is relatively steady right now anyway. Patriots will be unhappy, right? Yes, very unhappy it turns out. What about environmentalists? Nope, they don't care. We did ban fracking, I was going to say. Okay, yeah, that's why environmentalists are happy. What about liberal? Yes, liberals are happy. Okay, so 10% gain with them, 12% loss with the patriots. And I don't know about anything else. Maybe foreign relations. No, wait, that's immigration. Is this it? Yes. Huh, no effect on foreign relations. Okay. So yeah, we just hurt our oil supply and upset patriots in order to make liberals happy, and I don't really know what else just came of that, so okay. Well, the surplus has increased because the GDP is gradually going up, little bit by little bit. So now we're making some good money. We should probably use that money to invest even further in our economy. I think a good way to do that would be the adult education subsidies. Very, very, very good policy. And fairly cheap, it turns out, at least for us. It just increases education and productivity. Very simple, short and sweet. Great use of money. It's amazing. Go for the adult education subsidies. We are going to subsidize people who leave their job and decide to go back into school in order to specialize in some sort of service and therefore make themselves better in the economy. And in fact, adult education subsidies, you would think at least, are even better when you consider there's industrial automation, because people who otherwise might have lost their job to a machine now find it's a little bit cheaper to go back to school, acquire a new skill, and get back into the workforce. I think that's a good thing. This is slowly ticking up over time. We knew that would happen, especially with technology increasing, but it's still relatively low thanks to the automation tax, so it's not going to hurt our unemployment too much. Eventually, when unemployment is fully conquered, I will want to increase that. We should increase our education even further. We should. We're going to go for the public libraries. I think this actually makes the retired happy as well, which is good because one of our ministers really needs the retired to be happy. In fact, I think it's this guy. I think it's Xavier. So, okay. Education, retired, and equality. All good. A little bit more expensive than the adult education subsidies, but still not a bad option. Xavier, was it you? Yes, Xavier likes the retired. Okay. Also the trade unionists. Well, trade unionists are relatively happy. Retired are just ecstatic with me, which I think is so abundantly stupid, I cut their state pensions. I completely eliminated your social security check. It's gone. You should be terrified and furious with me. In the United States, if you even dare to threaten to cut or change social security, you lose the retired vote, like instantly. But apparently not in France. Apparently they are far more forgiving. All I have to do is send them a check for their fuel every winter and say, hey, you can go and read your stories in the library. And that's all it takes. They're thrilled with me. Okay, we're going to go with that. What else can we do? There are a few good policies that we could still enact. Antibiotics ban. No, not a good idea. How about the compulsory school sports? This is cheap, 347 million, not a big deal, but it basically does the exact same thing as the healthy eating campaign, it just improves health and reduces obesity. Because, children are getting more physically active, and that's important in their educational process, but also for their long-term well-being. So now we're basically going to force kids to play sports in school so they get some good exercise. It improves their health and cuts down on their fat, which, by the way, I've noticed is going back up. Despite my best efforts, a big part of that would be the agricultural subsidies, also the GDP going up. But a lot of other things haven't fully kicked in yet, so I'm hoping this goes down, but ouch. This is proving a little bit harder to get rid of than I thought. But okay. Diplomatic service is okay, but not really necessary right now. Economy. Nothing here that I need at the moment. Hybrid cars? Possibly. Oh, we should do the Social Justice Foundation. Absolutely. It only costs 2 political capital and it's pretty cheap. This increases liberalism membership. That's it. That's all it does. It just gives me more liberals, which I want anyway. We're up to 78% of the population is liberal. This should put it around 80. It's just better for us as far as our long-term ability to get reelected and the vote. It's just good. Control the vote, guys. Remember, half of democracy is having well-balanced policies, and the other half is just controlling what people think and how they'll vote. That's it. Just propaganda the crap out of these people. It'll work, I promise. What else should we do? How about fuel efficiency standards? That's pretty good, very cheap. This should improve... It does not improve the environment, actually. I am wrong. It does, however, reduce CO2 emissions, which does the same kind of thing. It also reduces oil demand a lot, which is good because we just increase the price of oil effectively by cutting down the supply. So, in the laws of basic economics, supply and demand, whenever you increase the supply, the price goes down, and vice versa. Decrease the supply and the price goes up. Increase the demand, and therefore the price goes up and vice versa there. So we've reduced the supply, which means the price goes up, but I can counteract that by reducing the demand so it ends up being about the same. I think that's a very clever way to deal with things. Yes it is. I am brilliant. You may all bow in my presence. Hey, pollution came to an end. I didn't expect that. Nice. Environmental experts tell us that the country's pollution problem is now under control. Our citizens no longer need to wear face masks when cycling to work. I wasn't aware it was that bad. I wasn't aware that I was Shanghai or Beijing or somewhere else in China. I had no idea. Apparently it was that bad. We also got some more media backlash because guess what? Them capitalists absolutely despise me. The global economy has actually recovered, which was pretty quick. It only took like a year or two to recover. That's how a good economy ought to recover. But don't tell that to President Obama because we've had a good 8 years of terrible economic growth and economic recovery. But whatever. That's getting into a little bit of politics that some people be like, oh, you're pushing your right-wing views. First off, I'm not even right-wing, so shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. I think we should continue focusing on the environment. I think we should do the Hypercars Initiative. It's relatively cheap and does a lot. So, literally, it reduces oil demand, which again, reduces the price of oil, which is good. Environmentalists will be happy. Car usage does go up, but they're driving cleaner cars, so that's okay, because the environment goes up. So, across the board, I don't think this is a bad thing. Even high earnings goes up, because basically we're subsidizing expensive hybrid cars, and the wealthy like that. Well, okay, it doesn't say that they like it, but they'll get more money, which I will just tax. So, yeah, you can save your money, but I'll take half of it. Or 56% of it, specifically. So, you lose anyway. What else should we do? Monorail? Nah, a little bit too early for that. How about subsidizing the school buses? Yeah, that seems okay. I think this actually will increase our compassion a little bit. No, it does not. That's interesting. Huh. I would have thought for sure this was going to increase my compassion because I am making it easier for children to get to school, but okay, maybe not. Parents will like this, and they are a very important voter demographic for us. I believe 2 or 3 of our ministers like parents, so that's good. And bus usage goes up, which means that car usage goes down, which means that CO2 emissions goes down, blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of the domino effect of how everything is interconnected. So, okay, that's not an amazing use of money, but it should improve our political capital generation at least a little bit, so I'm okay with that. What else should we do? Oh, wait. Yeah, let's do Stamp Out Racism Week. This is basically going to do the same thing as the social justice. It reduces racial tension, which is an added benefit, but it also increases our liberalism membership by even more, 3.59%. That's pretty good. It's actually better than the Social Justice Foundation. So yeah, absolutely we'll pass that. We are trying to skew the votes in our favor, guys. If you've watched this channel before, you know it's something we do. I'm going to do the cycling campaign next, because it improves health, and also reduces all transportation usage, which is good for the environment. Also health. Also very cheap. 283 euros, million euros, 43.4% increase is pretty darn good. I feel happy about that. All right, well, I think that is all we have time for. Yes, next video will be year 5. We're going to try to pay off the rest of the debt and then get re-elected, and we should begin access to the manifestos and the speeches. So finally, you guys are going to get to see what happens in the in the electioneering expansion. I know it's taken 4 videos to do so, but sorry, can't be helped. Doing the best I can. Hope you enjoyed. If so, then hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and I, as always, will see you guys next time.